So we're now recording. Welcome everyone to our CHAOSS Common Working Group on June 11. I already shared the minutes document, so please head over there. I'm just gonna share my screen while we go through the action items from last week or 2 weeks ago. Do you see the minutes? I'm not always sure I'm sharing the right screen. Can someone confirm that you're seeing the common metrics working group?
I am seeing the common metrics page.
Awesome, thank you. So first agenda item is to review action items and notes from previous meeting. We have here, the first one is Don Foster, who is not on today. And I didn't see anything come through the issues or pull requests. So I'll just copy paste that up. The next one is Sean.
Yeah.
You wanted to look at language distribution within a project. Do you have an update?
Yeah. So my update is there's not a metric ready for that yet, but there will be by the time we do release.
So in 2 weeks?
Yeah. It's I guess it's a little bit, what is it? 2 weeks from tomorrow? Is that the day?
2 weeks from yesterday.
Okay. Yeah.
13
days then.
13 days.
No problem.
And this is implementation in Augur that you're talking about?
No,
or...
it's actual new metric.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
there is an implementation in Augur, but will be, new metric.
Okay. Do you already have a draft you can share with us?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So, but this one practically writes itself. So.
All right. We have the contributor location metric that we do want to look at later. So I'm not gonna copy anything in. We have Daniel is not on the call, so I'm going to just carry this forward. I'll also make that comment that Don's is not moving forward this week. And then we have Kevin, recent call for comment to the list, which was done, perfect. And then there was another one for Kevin to move the metric onto the website. And this is the time to first response, and it is on the website. So thank you, Kevin.
And we have an implementation of that in Augur too that I can share.
Okay.
So,
yeah, we can update the metric and add a new visualization to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure that you add that note to the release comments issue, comments when you do it.
All right.
Oh, can I add this as a new action item for you, Sean?
Yep.
Perfect. So next on our list is to review pull requests and issues. And by the way, if anyone has other items they want to talk about, other agenda points, please do let me know. I'm happy to be flexible. We have 7 issues and 0 pull requests. We have the metric candidate time to close, which is should this be done since it's now on the website? Kevin, I'm looking at you.
Oh, sorry, I lost my controls.
Yeah, that happens.
Yes, that should be done if it's on the website.
Okay. Then I like this because now we only have 6. Common metrics release notes, that is for the upcoming release. So as we make changes, we can add in here time to release. We want to add a Augur screenshot to be done. Just so, Kevin, because you said you wanted this in here. We have repository authors equals commit authors as a question. And Sean, this is a question from you. Can you help us understand what this is and whether this is still an issue?
Yeah, that's still an issue. I don't know if that's what it means.
Can you help us understand?
So the construct of a repository author exists inside of the Common Working Group, but it wasn't clear to the Evolution Working Group a few months ago, and still I think isn't, if that is the same thing as commit authors, or if repository authors expand to include things like issues, comments, and other phenomena. So we're just looking for a clarification of what a repository author is, or a definition, because it's a construct that this working group created, but which doesn't exist anywhere else on the CHAOSS project.
So I'll just say it's the same thing as a commit author,
Okay.
because I don't think we have discussed anything else.
Okay.
And
I guess I would ask that it change to repository commit author instead of just repository author, because I think the term repository author is misleading and confusing.
That's a really good point. So repository commit author.
Boom, problem solved, issue closed. Kung fu.
Exactly.
So this is just for commits. This is not for issue authors. This is not for any comment authors. Nothing like that. It's just for a commit.
If I look at it in the context of the other things that are listed there, I think that is the intent, but I didn't create it, so that's why the question got asked.
So from reading it, it kind of looks like this is a high level any author in a repository. So it could be a commit author, it could be someone who authored an issue,
but
it could be someone who authored something on a mailing list, apparently, because that is a filter down there.
However, I don't see commits anywhere else in there. And I also don't see pull requests.
Code review is our code word for pull request.
Yeah, that's so confusing. But yes, you're right. That is our. I thought it was just. I think it's just review participants. I don't think it's code review participants. I think we call reviews pull requests. We don't call code reviews pull requests, because reviews and code reviews are actually a different thing. So, and you can get from GitHub, I know, I'm not sure if GitLab gives you the data for code reviews, but you can get code review data from GitHub. So when someone does a pull request, it can, for example, require reviews by either the code owner, the person who originally committed it, or a collection of people who have commit rights on the repo. And I imagine GitLab has something similar. So code reviews are a different thing.
So how about we say review participants, for example, in pull requests?
Yep, that's more clear.
Any other?
But Kevin's question was, is there an umbrella term for any kind of these contributions? That was your question, right?
Yeah, we can't call it repository commit authors because we're not just talking about commits. It's an umbrella, all type of authors. So perhaps repository authors does make more sense, although I'm not a big fan of that name either. Is there a different kind of high level name that we could use for all contribution authors?
Well, and if you don't use, you have to have commits in here somewhere too if you're doing contributors. Then, which is why I guess you remember the repository authors being an umbrella term, Kevin?
Well, that was in the issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, if a repository author is the same as a commit author, that was my issue because we were confused in the evolution working group.
So the answer is maybe.
Okay.
So sometimes repository authors are the same thing as commit authors, or sometimes commit authors are repository authors.
Is there a difference between repository author and owner?
Yes. Yeah, because if it depends. In the case of both interpretations of the term repository author, yes. If it's a repository author covering an umbrella of all the things you can do, then obviously a lot of people can do open issues and do things like that. So if it's just repository author and not repository commit author, then yes. And then if it's repository commit author, anytime my pull request is accepted, then I also become a commit author inside that repository as well, even if I'm not a committer.
So I understand that there are many different authors. And so this metric is about who's contributing to a project, and these filters are just examples. And so of course we know that commits is not everything, issues is not everything, reviews is not everything. And so I propose to just use commit authors if that is in line with what evolution has been using as one example for contributor. And then we know there are other contributors across our projects, across our repositories.
So I think we're actually using code contributions or something like that. Let me check.
So I've always taken author to
repository
be
author.
The person who initiated the issue or the pull request.
Right.
So not everyone that makes a comment, or not everyone that like if someone provides a review in a pull request, that wouldn't be an author. They're commenting or reviewing someone else's work. The author would be the person who initiated the pull request or who initiated the issue.
So if you can get the code review data out of GitHub. Mm-hmm. So code reviews, like authoring a code review, can be a contribution. And it's actually, GitHub calls code reviews, and reviews pull requests. So they are two different things. And I think your initial point, Kevin, was that repository authors might be the umbrella for no filter.
Right.
Like, that is what I hear.
Yes.
And I think the question is, repository author would exclude IRC, blog, and mailing list, because those are not repository grounded phenomena. Like there's no platform that ties those things to a repository.
Right.
They exist outside of a repository.
Yeah. So I don't like repository in there.
Okay.
But in the title. But I don't think we should just focus on commit either, is what I'm saying. I think it needs to be a higher level than just commits.
Couldn't
And
we-
obviously
So I
a
think-
higher
so that's a
level than
filter.
repository as well.
So I think like all contributors would be basically the application of no filters and a specification of what data is included. So like you can run with Augur everything on this list except I assume event participants is actually probably external events. So event participants, mailing list authors, IRC authors, and blog authors. You can't, I don't think with any tool you can make a claim that you've gathered all of that, because most repositories don't have a canonical list of all of that, especially when it comes to events and IRC kinds of work and blogs.
So Kevin,
even.
I hear your point that there may be a collection word here. Do you think we need to capture this in this list of example filters? Or
That's true. Example.
might this be even something that someone who is interested in seeing commits, issues, and code reviews, they just apply that filter because it's logic? And I'm trying to strike a balance between the clarity of the metric and the usefulness in using it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I will create a pull request and we can talk about whether this is to create pull request. We can move on. So this is the change as it's proposed.
All right, right on.
Replace repository with commit and then clarify the code review to be a review participant. And as a reminder, these are pull requests.
Yep.
If someone else is on the call who has commit rights, please feel free to merge this PR.
I think I can do that.
Awesome. I'll keep track.
Pull request about to be reviewed and closed.
And this results 57. Excellent. Then that should go away in a moment. And then we have new metric.
It's gone.
Awesome. Thank you. We're down to 5. We have metric idea. We have another metric idea, discussion of responsiveness metrics, and management of organization affiliation and email. Those are all ongoing conversations that I don't recommend we get into today. Any opposing views? Any other suggestions?
I have a question about the release metric issue, actually. Kevin,
Okay.
are we having one issue for all of the metrics released?
So each metric has its own issue where people can make comments.
Okay.
And then we have one issue that tracks the release notes for
I see.
all of the metrics that you release.
Okay.
Right. So that one that's there, 60, is basically it's a coordinating issue. And if you open it up, you'll see that we reference all of the issues that have. Yeah, so the new metric types of contributions, if we scroll down a little bit, you'll see that there's another new metric, time to close. So this issue should capture kind of the entire discussion of the release or any edits that you may make to an existing metric that has been published.
Mm-hmm.
However, each metric that is released needs to have its own comment issue as well. Yeah. And you'll notice that in there, I link out to what that issue was.
Okay. Okay. But I don't see any of the common issues tagged as metric release candidates like I have in the past. I guess that's the origin of my question.
You mean in the labels?
Yeah.
That is because the last one we did went through the continuous metric release.
Okay.
And so we already closed the comment period on that.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
So do we have
once
no
the comment
new
period is closed, those are closed.
So there are no new metrics that have not already been through the comment period for the comment group right now. But like
Yes.
when I finish the draft of the metric for code distribution, then I'd create an issue for that following the standard language.
Correct. And tag
Okay.
it with the tag it with the metrics candidate release tag.
Got it. Okay. Now I'm following. We don't have anything that's in that state right now, but we will in 13 days. And this release notes one is going to be in every repo.
Yeah, every working group should have one release notes issue.
Perfect. Okay.
And I'll close that when we do our regular release, and I'll open a new one.
Now I'm following and remembering the full process. Sorry to take up your time. Now I get it.
Okay. The next item was progress on continuous release for time to close metric. Metric was added to website. No metrics currently in the release cycle. Then we have a conversation about cross-referencing metrics, and we have, I don't want to do this right now. I want to focus on the metric release actually.
Totally cool. I do think at some point, as I span a number of working groups, there are, for example, 3 working groups right now looking at the forks metric. So 3 working groups, risk, evolution, and one other one, value maybe, all consider forks to be a measure that they are interested in for the purposes of those 3 working groups. And obviously the metric will be created in one working group, but it seems that that metric will be shared by 3 working groups. So one could argue that I should bring that metric from those 3 groups that I participate in over into Common, because it is of interest to several working groups. And I guess I would ask the opinions of the folks on the call, at least, if that makes sense or not.
Are they all looking at forking in the same way?
I think so.
Is it?
I think a fork is a fork, of course.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know when some people talk about forks, they talk about forks as creating a fork to work on the software separately or to create a new piece of software. Whereas in the normal development process in GitHub, for example, you fork something with the idea of merging it back.
Right. And I think what we can tell from any platform is how many times a repository has been forked. But the repository actually loses track of that fork if you disconnect your fork from the home repository and just start off on your own, like with what's commonly or sometimes called a hostile fork, where you create a fork and then you detach it from the original repo and create your own. It's up to, I don't know that we have a way that we can easily track those kinds of things, and I don't know if they're super common. So my interpretation of all the working groups is they're really just looking at the fork count, and maybe some details around how many of those forks maybe have done pull requests or maybe something like that, which can be derived from a platform. But I don't think they mean hostile forks, which is the only other type of fork.
Not really not the purpose of the forks, or it's literally just a count of forking within a repository.
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's my interpretation of those 3 working groups goals.
I interpreted the same because I attend all these 3 working groups.
Yeah, Vinod is also in the same working groups. You have it assigned in one of them, I guess.
So can I ask?
Yes.
But I'm wondering if it should be brought over to Common given the shared interest. So instead of doing the mapping exercise that's on the agenda, Georg, I'm wondering if a metric with so much shared interest we should just put that in Common to make it easier.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Has any of these working groups already started work on describing the metric?
I had to
Vinod
do
has.
that. That was in my to-do list for like
Yeah.
upcoming risk meeting.
So like code distribution, it's a metric that kind of writes itself. It's not super complicated. And we all know what it is. So Vinod's been assigned it, I think, in 2 of those 3 working groups. And so the question really is like, can we just, I think I would just like to ask permission to have Vinod do that metric in Common, and then the other working groups can point to it because that seems like one of the use cases that Common was created to address.
I agree. So if we look at our table, then where would we add forks? Is this a people, contribution, time, or space?
I think it's contribution.
Concern?
I think it's contribution because a fork is a signal of at least the intent to contribute. I mean, I could make an argument that it's about people, but I think it's more about the code. And so I put contributions under the code, and you could put that as in progress. And maybe make a note that there are 3 working groups with interest in this metric, which is why it's being moved over to Common. Risk, evolution, and value.
Okay. Yeah, Vinod, do you already have a document that we can link to here?
Not yet.
I think there is one in risk. It may be a template, but I think one exists for in risk or evolution. Maybe both have created documents.
Let me look at it. I'll post the link to this.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vinod.
Yeah, no problem.
So time to close. That is, it is released, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yep. Release. I don't know if Matt marks them as released.
Yep, when they're released.
I'll just comment here that it's released.
Yeah, I forget, Kevin, we mark them as released on our spreadsheet and then make sure that they're noted in the review.
In the issue, yeah.
Yeah, in the issue for release notes.
But yeah, generally when it goes to the website, I make the note of it in the issue.
In the spreadsheet. So should we leave it as under review so that you know? Or
no, feel free to
call it released in our spreadsheet?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. And this was the when metric time to first response. I just want to update the link that is in the spreadsheet here because this is still the Google Doc.
Excellent. Good job.
There. Now we have the actual markdown. And then
I keep trying to click on shared spreadsheets in Zoom.
Yeah, I think if we have time to close, that's already done. If we get forks and language distribution, that will be great. And then we have one more metric that we've been working on. That is the contributor location metric. And so for the last 19 minutes that we have, I invite you all to review this metric and maybe we can push it over the finish line and actually add it to the next release as well. What do you think?
Share the link and let's see how we do.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing my screen. So there's some cleanup that needs to happen. That's easy enough to do. It's the old template. So in the goal, we say to determine the primary location of the contributor. Are we looking at the primary location? Is that too specific? Should we be asking about where they're contributing from or where they're... So leave it open since this is a common metric.
Yes.
Leave it to just location and then have different filters as in location of residency, location of contributing from, time zone.
Yes, I mean, most of the work that I've seen around identifying this metric is that, like, as Dawn notes in her comment, time zones are as a proxy for location. And I guess you could, yeah, primary doesn't need to be in there.
Yep.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
As far as getting someone's IP address, are there any privacy concerns or anything like that that we should worry about?
I mean, I don't think the platforms give you that.
For GitHub, you have the IP and you can access it and locate it. But there are people in GitHub, you have an option to not to disclose, and you will get 00 in latitude and longitude, and it'll just point out to the center.
So the ethical concerns and legal concerns around any of these metrics and data is something that we're discussing time and time again, and we still have to document our position on this. The metrics themselves are, there are many metrics that touch on personal identifiable information that is protected. And so far, we have taken the position that we will not include disclaimers inside the metrics. This is something that we should do at a global level because it applies to almost every metric.
So when you say global level, Georg, I think I don't understand exactly what you mean. Like, I do understand you mean that as a CHAOSS project or a community, the question of resolving privacy concerns is something that will be handled at the community level. And it doesn't really apply in the creation of metrics. It's really something that the software that's pulling data has to attend to, right?
Yes.
How about we add a disclaimer to this, like if the data is publicly available, you can use this, something along that line.
No, I don't think we want to add disclaimers at the metric level, because then you've got a lot more to maintain when it changes, right? I think it's a global issue, but I guess my point is that, or my question is, I think it's not something that in the creation of a metric, you might have a lot of detail about the people. For example, if you're in a tech company and they work for you, and that might be okay if you're not making that data publicly available or redistributing it.
We accessing GitHub data most of the cases in open source communities, and then on GitHub you have this publicly openly available. People have given the consent to share their IPs.
Yeah, but I think you have to. I don't think it becomes an issue until it's implemented. Is my point.
Yep. I agree with.
So in the definition of the metric, we can't make ethical calls. I think as a community, we probably need to make some kind of statement about privacy and personal data and our respect for it, which I think is Elizabeth's main point, right? And
Yeah.
so it's probably something to make sure is on the agenda at the next CHAOSS meeting, because I think at the next community call, the 1st of July, first Tuesday in July, because it's something we've kind of kicked that can down the road a few times, and it's probably time to have that can land somewhere. And I think we all kind of are in agreement about it being a kind of a choice of the person implementing it. And if we're not making the data public again, then, you know, I think we're okay. I don't think we can get in the business of other enterprises that have people working for them. But
yeah,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it would be a shame if a potential contributor decided not to contribute to a project because of the way that someone was implementing our metrics, and like we didn't give any way to let people opt out or any guidance around ethical usage, or you know what I mean? Like I would feel really bad if a project is losing contributors because of the way that data is handled or something that, you know, we touched on. But I totally understand that it's really not our job to monitor how people are implementing, but I think that, yeah, maybe some kind of,
but
as you already said, ethical.
It would be more than a shame, though, if using metrics caused people to not contribute, right? That would be
right. It's like the opposite of what we're trying to do.
The opposite of our intent, right? Yeah, right. So that would be, so I think.
So for June 16 in the CHAOSS weekly meetings, I put it on the agenda to talk about CHAOSS statement about privacy and ethics around metrics and analytics. So we can talk about it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then today we can talk about the contributor location metric and see if we can push it over the finish line in the next 10 minutes. So aggregators is something we had in the old template. We don't have it in the new template. I can share my screen so you all know what I'm talking about. Does anyone remember how we're dealing with this aggregators, how we converted those?
I think they were in the filters. Move to the filters, but
I think this is from a different metric. Total number of contributions during a given time period. Sounds like it's from a different metric somewhere. Parameters. Do we still use parameters anywhere? Or did we just get rid of this? I think this goes in here. Yeah, I think that's filter.
I think this fits into the type of contributor, like repository owner, issue authors.
I like that. I just had the same idea.
We have
Okay,
covered time
what?
frame. We have covered time frame of activity in the period of time.
Yes. Okay, I have a question for you all. We have in implementation information that we could use information from a profile, that we can use IP address or timestamp. And then we have a section down below about data collection strategies. Should we merge those two together? I feel like moving this part that is under implementation down into the data collection strategies. I'll just do this, and if anyone disagrees, let me know. So what do you all think? After looking through this metric together.
Yeah.
I propose that we create a pull request and add it to the upcoming metric and have a open discussion on it with everyone.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Do we need to mention anything about the fact that people can set their own profile location? Like you can literally put anything you want. So
yeah,
the data is not.
I think that's a good point. Like mine
I don't know where
birth.
that belongs, but maybe just to acknowledge the fact that, you know, there could be like random stuff in there.
Yeah. Here, how about this, Elizabeth? Note that custom profile information may contain false or nonsensical information.
Yeah, I think just to acknowledge the fact that, you know, that people can put whatever. They could put Earth if they want. You know, you can do whatever you want. So yeah.
Okay, so note that contributors may enter in their profile information false or nonsensical location information. For example, Earth.
Right. Like, yeah, I think a lot of people actually use Earth.
Or internet.
Yeah.
I've seen that too.
Another classic. Yeah.
Okay, that was a good addition. Thank you. Then I will take this as a action item to create a pull request. That completes our agenda for today. Yay, with 2 minutes to spare.
Yay. Wow, we're killing it. Excellent. Well done.
We're on top of things.
Well, all I need to do is put you in charge of the meeting, Georg, and everything pushes right on through.
Oh, it only works because you're all such good collaborators.
There we go. There we go.
Is there anything
you,
else
Georg.
on anyone's mind for the last minute?
Nope.
Okay, before we open another can of worms of talking about the ethics of metrics or anything like that, I'm gonna close the meeting.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.